What happens when a truly legendary rivalry just becomes a joke? I mean, the Chicago Bulls versus the Detroit Pistons used to be an absolute war. Today, it's something else entirely. And the story of how we got here, well, it's pretty wild.
So, get this. On January 7th, 2026, the Detroit Pistons were favored to beat the Chicago Bulls by 10.5 points. A staggering number. In the NBA, a double-digit spread like that isn't just a prediction, it's a statement. It's basically saying one team is expected to just completely wipe the floor with the other. And that number, it tells you everything about a rivalry that has been totally flipped on its head.
And that one number really gets you thinking, right? It leads us to the big question we're tackling here. How did we get to this point? How did a rivalry that was built on pure, raw hatred and brutal playoff showdowns turn into a game where one team is expected to win by almost 11 points? To figure that out, we've got to look at where these teams are right now. And, just as important, where they came from. Okay, so let's start with today. A quick look at the records here paints a pretty clear picture. You've got the Pistons sitting at the top of the Eastern Conference, a legit powerhouse. And the Bulls? Well, they're just kind of stuck in 9th place, fighting to stay near 500. But here's the real kicker. This massive gap exists even with Detroit's best player, Cade Cunningham, on the sidelines with an injury. The difference between these two teams is just huge.
And a huge reason for that huge point spread is the Bulls' injury report. I mean, just look at this. They are absolutely decimated. They're missing their main playmaker in Josh Giddey, their second-best scorer in Kobe White, plus a couple of key big men. So this isn't just a mismatch on paper. We're talking about a totally depleted squad running on fumes, going up against one of the best teams in the conference.
But to really, truly understand today's imbalance, we have to go back, way back to the late 1980s. Back when this rivalry wasn't a mismatch at all, it was a straight-up war.
And the generals in that war were the bad boy Pistons. As their own player John Salley put it, their coach Chuck Daly had to manage a team full of knuckleheads. He was talking about guys like Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman. This wasn't just a roster of tough physical players. They were an entire identity.
And that whole identity was really forged in their plan to stop one guy, Michael Jordan. The Jordan rules, as they came to be known, weren't just about playing tough defense. Oh no, this was a systemic, calculated, physical plan. The goal was super simple. Do whatever it takes to stop Michael Jordan, even if that meant literally knocking him to the floor over and over again. And when you hear it from the man who created it, Coach Chuck Daly himself, you get how brutally simple it was. His words were, anytime he went by you, you had to nail him. See, this wasn't about finesse or skill. It was about applying non-stop physical punishment designed to just wear Jordan down, both mentally and physically, for the entire game.
And boy, did it work. For 3 straight years, the Pistons were just this brick wall that the Bulls could not break through. They'd meet in the playoffs, and every single time Detroit sent Jordan and the Bulls home. They owned this rivalry. They owned the entire Eastern Conference. But, you can only run into a wall so many times before you figure out how to knock it down. After 3 years of getting beat up and sent home, the tide was about to turn in a big way. The Bulls didn't just get better, they totally evolved.
And the Bulls finally found their answer. Under Coach Phil Jackson, they went all in on the triangle offense. Now, this system moved the ball, it shared the scoring load, and it made it totally impossible for the Pistons to just load up their entire defense on Michael Jordan. It was the key, the strategic key that would unlock a dynasty.
And the result of that evolution? Just look at this, pure domination. In their 4th straight playoff matchup, the Bulls didn't just beat the Pistons, they swept them 4-0. The wall was completely demolished. It was an absolute earthquake in the NBA's balance of power.
And the Pistons' reign ended exactly how it lived, with pure defiance. In a moment that has gone down in NBA history, Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer led their teammates right off the court before the final buzzer even sounded, refusing to shake hands. It was the last bitter act of the Bad Boys era, and it cemented a level of hatred between these two teams that you just don't see anymore.
From that moment on, these two franchises just went in completely opposite directions. The Bulls, of course, launched a dynasty, winning 6 championships in 8 years. The Pistons, they faded. And that split, that divergence, well, it brings us right back to that 10.5-point spread we started with.
Yeah, this breakdown from the Ringer's Clarity Index just nails the modern reality perfectly.
I mean, look at the words they use. For the Pistons, clarity of purpose, a sensible plan. And for the Bulls, they're in the funhouse mirror tier, described as consistently baffling and maddeningly complacent. The difference in how these teams are being run is just night and day. See, the Pistons have run a textbook rebuild. Under their GM, Trajan Langdon, they were patient. They drafted smart, they developed their young guys, they built a tough defensive identity, and now they're cashing in. They aren't just good now. They have a clear, ambitious plan to be a top team for years to come.
Meanwhile, the Bulls are just adrift. The Ringer calls it perpetual mediocrity, and, it's pretty hard to argue with that. Their goal seems to be to just be good enough to maybe make the play-in tournament. There's no clear path to actually becoming a real contender. And this lack of a clear, ambitious vision is really what separates these two franchises today.
So that brings us full circle. We've gone from the Jordan rules all the way to a 10.5-point betting line. This rivalry has been completely turned upside down, which leads to the final question. What comes next?
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. Is this current imbalance, driven by one team's clear plan and another's complacency, is this just a temporary low point, or are we actually watching the beginning of a whole new chapter in this old rivalry? One where the Pistons are the wall again, and the Bulls are the ones trying to figure out how in the world to break through.